One comparison is to simply look at medians or averages of the extremely broad long list. Because even though you accept that there will be differences, but most likely there will be differences to both directions, then somehow the median or average is still relevant.
Right.
And then you look at the sort of carefully selected, significantly smaller peer group and do the same analysis on those. And it is not only it's not as simplistic that we should look at only the median or average, but it is of course interesting to see what's the variation, what is the minimum, maximum, and so on.
I think it's the quality weights more than the quantity. Yeah, exactly. So in that sense, if you really have a good company, I think you should kind of focus on that, especially in the transaction multiple side. If you find a good transaction, comparable transaction, that you should focus on that rather than wider set of companies.
It's usually you always try to look for the most similar kind of counterparts that there are, but that's not the case in many of the companies. So then you tend to look at the size, or at least are they in the same industry. And usually I prefer to have them in a Nordic space, or if that's not possible, then in a European landscape, because the multiples, especially for IT companies in the States, are a bit different than that we are used to seeing here. So
select the right peer group, and it might sound easy, but it's not really. So of course you need to understand the industry where the peer groups are operating. So whether the business they do are similar enough to the business what we are valuing. And then of course that the KPIs or the key performance indicators or in the financial ratios of those companies are similar what we are experiencing in the company, what we are valuing. So that could be often a difference when we might have a really good peer group company with the similar industry, but they are in a different phase in their operations. So they might be more profitable, they might be growing much faster, they might be from emerging market versus more kind of mature market. So there are all these things that plays a role when selecting the right set of companies.
Well, of course, the industry. I mean, the closer the peer is, the better it is, and then the kind of business plan type of dynamics. Is the growth rate similar? Are the margins similar? Is the capital employed similar? And so on. And of course, there you need to understand where the difference comes from. If a company has a crucially higher margins, you need to understand why. And I mean, for example, in telecom business, you typically end up in a situation that the higher market share one has, the higher margins it has. It's just, the usage of network is more efficient, and it kind of should be so. But it is so in my view that it's far better to have one good peer than a set of 40 companies where none of those are actually very good ones.
Is it really relevant to compare? Let's say that you find somebody in Asia and one in US, and then their revenues are, let's say, 2 billion and yours is 20 million. So should you use the same? Are they same peer group, or should you just use any company that has grown for the last 4 years 100% on average? So how do you value that, all of those type of companies? And then that's maybe I would prefer to use something like that. And I say that, okay, if you invest in this company, I know that we are in biotech, and then you could use the biotech multiples in ours, but you could also use any company that has grown like this.